Okay, first, so how do you become a honey queen?
Yeah, so I joined the Worcester County Beekeeping Association, and I had just been beekeeping and talking to the different members, and then every year they elect a new honey queen. So there's one for each club, and then there's a statewide, and it actually goes to like the national honey queen. So first I was meeting with them, I said I was interested, and then they elected me from the club.
Is there a honey king?
There is. For Massachusetts right now, we have the first state ambassador that we've ever had for honey.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah.
No princes or princesses?
No,
Okay.
no, like court with me.
So what do you have at your table here?
Right, so it kind of starts on this side over here. So I have what the hobby actually involves. So we have a smoker when we smoke the bees, a bee brush, a bee tool. We have a frame here that's filled with honey. So this is totally with honey. This is kind of just the comb just to see what it looks like. So as the table progresses, it's what you can do with honey. So we have this bee tool which will scrape off the wax, and then you can start getting, you put this in this kind of big drum and spin out all the honey, and then here it is. So honey can come in very different colors. So it just depends on the flower, the time of year, different environmental factors. We have this set up, and then we have some honey sticks, which is a lot of people love. We actually have some pollen too. So as this is a pollen trap that you put on your hive, and then you just get the pollen from them, and you can actually eat pollen. It's like kind of like caffeine. It really boosts you up in the morning. You have to take it in small doses though, because if you take too much, you'll be wired all day.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, people do that. So you can trap your own pollen, but you can also feed your bees the pollen. So it's really good for bee health for them to eat pollen.
How do you get pollen?
So yeah, so they people have pollen traps in their yards, but also what this is, you put this in the hive, and as the bees are walking, I don't have it set up right, but as they're walking in, it'll scrape off of their bodies, and then you'll get the pollen from that. But you shouldn't, keep it on all the time because they need pollen too. But
I think my car is a pollen trap.
yeah, exactly. I know there's pollen everywhere now. So
Now, what do you have a favorite kind of honey?
So I have these other ones, but I really like honey that's from clover. It's really sweet. It just tastes really nice. But yeah, I guess goldenrod honey is really delicious, but it smells really bad, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't bring it.
It's like stinky cheese.
Yeah, yeah. So.
All right. So I guess you keep bees yourself?
Yeah, I have. It's my second year beekeeping. I keep them out in Millbury. So yeah, they're doing really great. I don't have too much honey yet because as you start going, I just do a new package because bees, as you know, are they're not doing so well, especially in small local backyards, because we have a lot of things that are at play. There's mites, which are pretty deadly and going in, and then they create viruses and it kills the bees. Then we have pesticide use, mosquito spraying kills bees. And just other factors that have led to hive loss. But yeah.
I guess you have a lot of plants around your yard and stuff like that are good for bees.
Yeah, and they go out for 2 miles. So even if you can't necessarily have like a bunch of great plants for your bees, they're going to find it in the neighboring. And some gardener out there is very, very happy for you to have your bees over there. So yeah.
How did you get interested in keeping your own hive?
Yeah, so I went to Tower Hill, and they had the Worcester County had a exhibit going on, and they were showing their hive, and they were talking about bee school, because they have bee school once every year. It's $35, and it's just for 8 weeks. And so I went to that, and then I got really interested, and then I ended up winning the raffle at the end of the year. So I was like, I'm not keeping bees my first year, but I ended up winning a raffle with a hive and bees, so I started. But yeah, I just found it out from just coming to events like this, learning more about it.
How did you end up here?
Yeah, so someone contacted our club about, so as I'm kind of like the spokesperson a little bit for certain events. We have plenty of other people in the club too that love to come out to do events and do talks. So how I came here is they wanted someone, and I had the Saturday free, so I thought it would be a great time to come out. And it's beautiful here. I've never been here before. It's beautiful.
So the Daylily Garden is one of the gardens that was installed by a plant society in partnership with Massachusetts Horticultural Society. So the American Daylily Society, approximately 10 or 11 years ago, began installing this gorgeous daylily display that showcases over 300 varieties of daylilies. And these daylilies span over 100 years of history of plant breeding. Some of the varieties that are featured in this garden were created by a female plant breeder back in the 1930s, which is a pretty incredible achievement. We also house important germplasm of species-type daylilies that have been collected from all over the world. Plant breeders and daylily enthusiasts alike can access this collection for pollen and for pod plants in order to push the daylily breeding and cultivar development forward into the next century. So a lot of exciting changes with the vegetable garden this year. One of the most notable and noticeable is the fact that we have removed the fence from the entire garden. This has provided us with the opportunity to open up our vegetable garden as a more landscaped and more beautiful garden, but really to open it up to the rest of the property so that it didn't feel so separated from all of the other gardens we have here at Elm Bank. Also this spring, we have been approved to be an official display garden for the All-American Selections edible and ornamental winners. So our vegetable garden is all about raising food, and you cannot grow most of the food we eat without pollinators. And when we're talking about pollinators, we're talking about bumblebees, we're talking about honeybees, we're talking about syrphid wasps, we're talking about flies and butterflies and moths, we're talking about all sorts of different critters. They all are attracted to flowers, and so we not only plant our vegetables, but we plant as many beautiful flowers in and around them that we know attract our pollinators, so that we have a very diverse and robust ecosystem in which we grow food. And we try to educate the public about the importance of doing that instead of just having our vegetables growing in one patch and our flowers growing in a totally separate patch.
Interesting. What grows the best here?
Well, we have a lot of things that grow really well for us, and vegetable-wise, we always have some very fun and impressive tomatoes that generally get to be over 6 or 7 feet tall, with trunks approximately the size of my wrist. We do so much teaching. This is the vegetable garden that is the outdoor classroom of our Seed to Table program. So we do tons of hands-on education, teaching people not only how to grow vegetables, but how to cultivate plants in general. But it's a highly productive garden, and we raise between 5,000 and 6,000 pounds of fresh organic produce. It's all low input organic cultivation techniques that we use. And so we donate the bulk of that produce to at least 2 local food pantries. One is Wellesley Food Pantry, and one is the Native Service Council. Some of the produce is also used for our educational events, and we will be having a vegetable tasting event at our August Great Gatherings event, which is, I think, Saturday, August 10th or 11th, something like that. This is a plant many of us know if we drink hibiscus tea. This is the Roselle hibiscus plant, and it has a very pleasing and refreshing lemony sour taste. It's wonderful added to cold water or to hot tea, and it's very refreshing. So most of us know it in that capacity. But a year ago, I learned of another usage for this plant, which is far more important than us simply drinking tea from it. We had visitors coming from India, and this lady entered the garden and became very excited when she saw the plant. And she even started to cry, and she just exclaimed, "Gongara, gongara, gongara." And so here is the plant here. And she said in southern India, these leaves are a very important flavoring in many of their lentil dishes. So culturally, this is a plant that is incredibly important to an enormous amount of people around the world that we here in America have never really even embraced or used for our own culinary purposes. She and her daughter came back the next week and had made us a couple of different dishes using the gongora as seasoning, and it was delicious. So, and we sent her home with armloads of the leaves that she could use throughout the winter in her own cooking. So this is another plant that has attracted a lot of attention over the past 2 or 3 years that we've been growing it here in the vegetable garden. It's called Bacella rubra, and the common name for it is Malabar spinach. It's not a spinach at all, but it's a plant that can be eaten like spinach throughout the summer. Many of us in the Northeast have a hard time growing spinach once the weather turns warm. It bolts and we don't really get a harvest off of it. But the Malabar spinach has these beautiful succulent leaves that taste just like spinach, and you can cook with them or use them fresh just like you would a regular spinach. But it's also a stunning plant with these red stems. It loves to vine and grow. It loves the heat, and it actually does well into the fall. So this is a plant that we will have in the gardens throughout September into early October.
Is it really healthy like spinach?
It is. It is actually very healthy. It's full of nutrients in the leaves, a lot of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. So this here represents a bed that has been designed by one of my lead volunteers here in the vegetable garden. Her name is Kathy Martin, and I work with a couple of other volunteers who have been with me for 4 or 5 years, and they really help me keep this garden going. So each year, the volunteers will take on designing 1 or 2 of the home gardener raised beds. This year, Kathy chose a theme for one of her beds of Middle Eastern cuisine, and all of the plants you see here are very important in the cultural foods throughout the Middle East. So including these breadseed poppies that are very, very gorgeous and beautiful. There are eggplants, we have chickpeas growing, we have durum wheat growing, and a variety of other plants that you would use when you are cooking in the Middle East.
Hi, I'm Lisi Lormer. So we are making some herbal salves and tinctures here. And so what we have is we have some dried calendula flowers. We have plantain. Oh, this is the plantain, and this is the comfrey. And what we do is we dry out the flower material and we add it to some organic extra virgin olive oil, and we let it sit in there for about 2 months to extract all those natural compounds that are really good for our skin. We have some beeswax over here, and we will melt down that beeswax in a double boiler, and we add 1 cup of the essential oil to 1 ounce of the beeswax. And then we can set it into our jars and it'll make the salve. You use it on your hand, your elbows, knees, anywhere where you have some dry skin.
Okay, cool. This whole term essential oils, what's that all about?
Well, essential oils is basically extracting the compounds that are going to be medicinally beneficial to us in an oil. So this is just the oil. And then once you add, this is the calendula that we've added, and it'll change, and this one will change colors. It'll turn a really brilliant colored yellow. And these all have different properties that will help your skin.
What is it about the oil that is helpful to the skin?
It helps to moisturize. Mostly, and so will the beeswax. So the oil and the beeswax together will sort of really be absorbing. So if you just use the oil, it could be a little bit, oily, and when you add in the beeswax, it'll be a little bit more stiff, and you'll be able to apply it more like a salve.
Very good. What are the different kinds of salves you have here?
We have calendula, which is this orange flower, and these are the dried flowers. There is an arnica, which also Hannah, our senior horticulturalist, collected here on site. We have lavender, which we collect here also, and we will infuse into these oils. And yeah, even weeds like plantain. So all plants are medicine.
This is kind of like an idea to get kids to be interested in planting and, learning about flowers and stuff. So what we do is we take just natural clay, it has no additives or anything. And what we do is we have a little cup with all different types of seeds. We have the kids put some seeds on here, on the clay. And this is compost. We add a little compost to it. we take this and we kind of form it into a ball, roll it into a ball. And then we roll it in compost again. And then what the kids to do is take them home and in the springtime to plant them, and they'll be hopefully pleasantly surprised at the seeds that will come up. And it's just a way of learning, for kids to learn how things grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what are the seeds?
we don't know. It's a mystery. Even I don't know. We think there's a few sunflower seeds, but then there's all these tiny little seeds that we're not sure what it is. So it'll be a surprise.
All right, great.
Yeah.